when peace was far away. The port of Rodosmo is the richest, most prosperous settlement in all of Zemelslo. It rises above 3 bays, each one separated by hilly splits of land. They are named for the twilight at morning, the brightness of high noon, and the gloaming that comes with night. At the landward side of each is a dock, and which goods land and ship from each dock is decreed by the laws of the Concilium. Rodosmo is where the Concilium meets each month, to discuss matters of governance and magic. They are well advised by the Yarmish Council, who by all accounts does not speak often, but when they do, their words are listened to. It is common for heralds of the realms to attend these meetings, to observe, and to present minor boons to the magicians, in return for small concessions. Zemelslo is not a wealthy nation. It primarily exports saltfish, salt lamb and mutton, and a strong, sour beverage called bitterskit that is, at best, an quiet taste. The largest structure is the Concilium Hall, but the second largest is the palace of the Yarmish Consul, which stands on one of the hills overlooking Rodosmo. It is very beautiful, and the first thing a sailor sees on their approach to the port. The people of Zemelslo are cousins to the folk of the principalities, in much the same way the people of Sarvos or the Brass Coast are cousins to the Highborn. Their people diverged long ago, but are close enough that cordial relations and strong bonds of wealth and politics unite them. There are no slaves in Zemelslo. Instead, there is a caste of folk whose name translates, roughly, as ungrateful in the particular dialect of the Zelmeslona. People who have committed crimes against their fellows, or against the state. They are kept in the most squalid possible conditions, forced to toil at the most back-breaking, filthy jobs until their sentence is completed. One might imagine that in a state as law-abiding and civil as Zemelslo, there would be not many ungrateful, yet there always seemed to be more than enough to ensure the fields are tilled, the bays are dredged, and the streets are cleaned. There are no temples or shrines here. The Concilium of Zemelslo does not prescribe religion so much as discount it. Faith, teach the leaders of this tiny island nation, is a distraction, a warm blanket fit only for children. Nothing exists beyond the world, and the 6 realms of magic. Miracles and the so-called ceremonies of the priests are nothing more than magic, practiced by amateurs who do not truly understand what they are doing. The people of Zemelslo patronize evangelists and missionaries, listening with every sign of amused tolerance, even applauding skilled oratory or rhetoric, and then they just move on. Yet be careful. These people pride themselves on their liberty to a degree that an outsider might misjudge as a kind of faith. Their civility is as much as learned response to living in a society where anarchy bubbles beneath the surface, as it is their vaunted rationality. The ungrateful toil, openly degraded, as much as a reminder to the common folk about what will happen if they forget their social contract with the Concilium and try to overthrow them. Reading between the lines of the history books, this has happened at least twice, and each time there is a period of chaos, and a new Concilium rises to replace the old. Most of the visitors to the docks of Rodosmo are foreigners. Traders from the western principalities exchange crystal manna for victuals, for metals cut from the hearts of the hills, and for softer treasures harvested from the inland trees. They are equally happy to trade with other visitors, these visiting merchants, and for those who do not wish to dirty themselves dealing with the emissaries of Yarm, there is ample opportunity to purchase their fine goods from the markets of Rodosmo, engaging in trade at one remove. That, perhaps, is the zeitgeist of Rodosmo, of Zemelslo. They exist at one remove. Comfortable with the protection of their cousins to the east, comfortable to live quiet lives, comfortable to be insulated from the chaos of the world, happy that war and hard choices are both far away. Among other things, the nation of Zemelslo is known for its clever goats. By long-standing rule of the Concilium, they may be herded and milked, but not eaten. Overview. Each season, the civil service prepares a summary of the Empire's relationship with the foreign nations, based on communications received from their ambassador, along with any useful intelligence gathered from other sources. While the Senate and the other houses of imperial power may respond to these offers, it is important to note that it is the appropriate ambassador that the foreign power will expect to hear from. Their communication with the foreign power is the primary element that will determine the tenor of any response. One of the 6 great powers, the principalities of Yarm are not exactly friendly to the Empire. The Majocracy, ruled by the House of Princes, resents what it claims are repeated attempts by imperial citizens to interfere with its interests. Via the Liberty Pact, the Empire is allied with Yarm's enemies, the Commonwealth, and open war now rages between the 2 great nations. They may not be at war with the Empire, but they know that imperial citizens and the Imperial Conclave, in particular, have provided significant assistance to their rivals. Communications tend to be brusque, bordering on the curt. The Yarmish ambassador to the Empire is Lord Magister Anton Trescher of the Hidden Hook, who attends at the House of Princes, a canny and influential politician who has served the House of Princes for over 40 years. He represents the Yarmish to the Empire and vice versa. A potent master of autumn magic, he is known for his sarcasm and dry wit, and for his commitment to the sovereignty of the principalities he serves. War in the East. The Lantir War continues despite the eruption of the Cold Sun. Diplomats from both sides have made attempts to arrange a summit to discuss the matter, but so far without success. There is nothing approaching a coordinated response between the 2 rivals to the scions pouring into Lantir. Indeed, as discussed in the Cold War Wind of Fortune, both sides suspect the other of having been responsible, and believe that the heralds are targeting their forces particularly. The conflict between the principalities and the Commonwealth is at its root a clash of ideology. Yarm fights for the right to self-determination, while the Commonwealth strives to spread its idea of the common good to all. Yarm remains unable to match the Commonwealth on sheer logistical and military might. The Commonwealth cannot equal the magical prowess of the principalities. Neither side will submit to the other, and so the war continues. The addition of this 3rd force means that it is impossible to tell who is winning. Yarm. Status: foreigner. Ports: Cavour, Vezak, and Rigla. All closed. Ambassador: Damian y Martin y Erego of the Brass Coast. The 3rd letter. Normally, the language of diplomacy is full of caveats and circumlocution, comments Lord Magister Anton. The Imperial Ambassador's interestingly candid approach, however, is in all honesty quite refreshing. It is a relief sometimes, he writes, to be able to speak directly. As such, he acknowledges that the ambassador may be feeling a little rebuffed, yet he feels that he was very clear about why the magician princes were not particularly impressed by the return of the Vazakri spice grinder. When one is honestly sending something without expectation of reward, one cannot really complain if they don't then get a reward. More constructively, the matter of the spice grinder is ultimately unimportant by itself, but it is not without symbolic weight. Coupled with the efforts of other imperial citizens, there is more of a taste in the House of Princes for dealing with the Empire. Embargoes cost both countries, and is good for neither. Right now, the House of Princes is busy with other matters, war with the Commonwealth and the destruction of Lantir being foremost in their minds. While it might not seem like it, the situation is improving, and in Anton's opinion, part of that is down to Damian y Martin y de Erego and their immediate predecessor, Nikita Tianga Volkov. There have obviously been several fine ambassadors from the Empire, but they are often judged against the example of the former ambassador Oswy Twice-Burned, someone who understood the realities of doing business on the international stage and put pragmatism ahead of ideology. As long as the Empire respects Yarm's independence as a sovereign nation, as long as they stay out of the war with the Commonwealth, and especially if they are able to offer practical support against these damned scions pouring out of Lantir, relations between the principalities and imperial citizens can only improve. Indeed, the assurances Ambassador Damian has issued regarding their intention to provide aid to the Yarmish in containing the forces of Oblivion has caused several otherwise disinterested princes to sit up and take notice, especially those potentially threatened by the scions. If they are able to deliver on those promises, If the conclave offers real, measurable support to Yarm, then it will not only prove the ambassador's caliber, but see more magician princes prepared to soften their attitudes to the Empire. If they fail, of course, well, that will just reaffirm the perception of recent Imperial ambassadors of being little more than chair warmers. The civil service are a little taken aback by the tone of Lord Anton's correspondence, but cautiously suggest that by speaking candidly in response to the ambassador, Tresher is in his own way showing his respect. Maybe. Free port. Bitterskit. Goat milk is a common staple of the Zemelslo diet. One of their main exports is bitterskit, an alcoholic beverage made by fermenting goat milk and adding certain local ingredients. There are a range of strong flavours, but it's something of an acquired taste. Any Imperial fleet captain who has visited the nation is free to fizz-rep bitterskit with almost any kind of milk or milk-like liquid, especially flavoured milkshake. During the autumn equinox, the tiny nation of Zemelslo opened their port at Radosmo to Imperial traders, at the urging of Prince Mila of the Violetinu Mishkas. Zemelslo lies in the Sea of Steel, and is firmly within the Yarmish sphere of influence. Technically self-governed by a concilium of magicians, in practice, it is a protectorate of Yarm, and looks to the House of Princes in all things. The Yarmish consul officially is an ambassador from the great nation to the east. In practice, it operates a lot more like a governor, albeit one that mostly observes and offers polite advice. Its primary exports are salted fish and a beverage called bitterskit, a strong, sour alcoholic drink made from fermented goat's milk. There is not much demand for bitterskit and salted fish in the Empire, but Yarmish merchants visit Radosmo all the time. Imperial merchants are welcome to trade with other visitors, which means access to the same kinds of products that were available from Yarmish ports. This is a polite fiction that allows Yarm and the Empire to trade without either side having to open their ports to the other. Obviously, the argument is that trade with Zemelslo, a sovereign nation, is not prohibited by the terms of the Liberty Pact. While the Commonwealth might take a different view, the Senate have been clear that they do not see any legal obstacle to Imperial traders dealing with Zemelslo, and confirm that it is not part of Yarm. It is too early to make sweeping generalizations. Whatever Anton's esteemed colleague, the magician prince of the Violetinu Mishkas, might believe, but the preliminary successes seen in Radosmo are encouraging. Perhaps it is possible for the Empire to visit an island without burning everything to the ground in the name of religion. While Zemelslo isn't Cavor or Zemek, it is a good start. Lord Magister Tresher is not alone in that he would be perfectly happy to see relations between the nations thaw out enough to allow trade to prosper again. The Empire is, after all, an excellent market, and everyone would be happier if they did not have to listen to the Golden Peacock faction, banging on about the Cassanean hegemon threat every 5 minutes. Winged messages can be dispatched by anyone interested in further discussing trade via Zemelslo to Magician Prince Mila, the Tepesh Palace, Principality of the Violetinu Mishkas, Principalities of Yarm. The Concilium has asked that the youthful magician prince serve as their liaison to the Empire. Weirwood for free people. The inference taken from the Senate's decision is that it is the Imperial Consul, ATTRIBUTIONS Masatsajason, who is responsible for any dealing with Zemelslo, rather than the ambassador to Yarm. The Concilium of Zemelslo have not invited any kind of diplomatic contact. Any formal imperial correspondence should go via their close ally, the magician prince of the Violetinu Mishkas. It is not that they are incapable of making their own decisions, simply that Prince Mila has more experience dealing with imperial citizens, and is unlikely to accidentally offend against their sensibilities or religion. Mila has graciously agreed to serve as a go-between. With his assistance, the Concilium of Zemelslo have made an overture to the imperial consul offices, indicating that they are in the market to purchase a large amount of weirwood. They are looking to secure 200 wains toward the construction of a navy, to help protect their island against Commonwealth aggression. They are able to offer 20 crowns a wain for any amount that the imperial consul can arrange. If the consul wishes to take advantage of this offer, the civil service can help facilitate it. Out of character note, the consul should ensure that the weirwood is in their inventory at the end of the event, and email plot@profounddecisions.co.uk to let us know how much they are providing to Zemelslo. We'll then remove the wains and replace them with the money at the agreed price. Regardless of what the imperial consul may choose, any private citizen could take advantage of this trade. The Urizeni ritual Ethereal Courier could certainly be used to send weirwood Bourse notes to Magician Prince Myla. This would require a little more effort to claim, but there is no legal impediment to ships from Zemelslo collecting wains from Imperial warehouses. The citizen trading in this way would either receive the payment mentioned, or have their Bourse notes returned if the consul has already provided all the weirwood required. The civil service assessment is that on the surface it seems to be a legitimate attempt by the Concilium of Zemelslo to establish their own navy. However, as a nation in the pocket of Yarm, helping Zemelslo arm itself effectively provides Yarm with access to another navy. It is very likely that Magician Prince Myla is behind this trade offer, and the likely source of much of the money to pay for it. Equal weight. Lord Magister Anton has received correspondence from the staff at the Yarmish Embassy in Cargo regarding the building of a Commonwealth castle across the river Kouros in Necropolis. Concerns have been expressed in the House of Princes about notoriously warlike Commonwealth soldiers travelling the same river as peaceful Yarmish emissaries, especially given the Empire's obvious favouring of the rival nation. As such, he proposes that the Senate expand and also concede the Yarmish Embassy in Cargo. Yarm would cover some of the costs, and would establish a cadre of elite Yarmish battle magicians at the embassy to protect the interests of their citizens, both in the embassy and travelling along the river. They would also be in a position to help garrison the walls of Cargo, which Lord Magister Anton points out they also helped create. In the event that the Commonwealth chose to commit piracy against Yarmish ships in Imperial waters, they would be in position to defend their diplomats and take appropriate retribution against any attack. The civil service have assessed the proposal. They estimate that in the event the walls of Cargo would gain the Yarmish war wizard's quality. If enemy forces threaten the region of Limus, the Yarmish war magicians would add an extra 1,000 strength to the garrison for purposes of defending the territory and inflicting casualties on the attackers, in the same way as if they were a number of military units taking a guard action. The required concedants would give the Yarmish free rein to operate within their own embassy without any hint of imperial oversight, and if relations between Yarm and the Empire collapsed entirely, a band of Yarmish war wizards in Urizen could do some significant damage before they were stopped. They also speculate that this is a naked political ploy to balance the fact that the Commonwealth has stationed troops on Imperial soil, and has direct control of their own Diplomatenschloss, herbs for the white palm. While magic is excellent for dealing with serious injuries in the short term, rituals such as Calulade's Resolution can help warriors endure these kinds of injury. They are ineffective at actually treating the injuries. The principalities have fewer battle-trained physics than the Empire. While the profession of physic is respected, those who master the arts of the body are more inclined to operate in cities tending to wealthy clients than risk their lives fighting. The House of the White Palm is an old establishment that trains battlefield physics to support Yarmish armies. The incursion of Cold Sun has left them overwhelmed, and both mundane soldiers and battlefield wizards are paying the price. The White Palm Lekar, the battlefield medics facing the destruction of Cold Sun, are in desperate need of marrowwort and blade root, large amounts, very quickly. As such, they have decided to go outside the traditional diplomatic channels and make a direct appeal to a body they apparently consider to be their peers, the Imperial Apothecaries Guild. They need 200 drams of both marrowwort and blade root, and they cannot wait for the slow transport of goods by sea. As such, they request that the guild collect 200 drams of each herb and deliver them via ethereal courier during the winter solstice. In return, the White Palm will share with the guild a herbal detailing the recipe for Palma Balsam, a preparation that translates roughly as palm tree balm. This potion is part of the master medicinal body of law and creates a salve that can be applied to an injured warrior to simultaneously restore a damaged limb and heal the wounds that caused it. From the description, it appears to harness the power of cerulean mazarine and true vervain, in the same way that Maledict's medicament captures the healing properties of blade root and imperial roseweald. What the guild does with the herbal is up to them. Keep it for their own use, or share it with the rest of the Empire, the House of the White Palm cares not. The civil service advised that this appeal has apparently caused outrage in the House of Princes. The idea that a mundane college has shown Yarmish weakness in this way is untenable. On the other hand, nobody is prepared to censure the White Palm, given their vital role in battle, and the numerous wealthy doctors trained there who serve magician prince households. While trade from Yard is embargoed, That prevents Yarmish vessels bringing trade goods to Imperial ports. Further, the Apothecaries Guild is responsible for the coordination and support of Imperial efforts in the research, development, education, and dissemination of ingredients, potions, and antidotes, and to represent and support the economic, political, and magical interests of apothecaries and herbalists within the Empire. If they choose to take advantage of this offer, or anyone chooses to fulfill the order on their behalf, there is no immediate legal restriction. But there might be ethical and moral considerations that the Synod in particular might wish to offer guidance with. Matters of measure. Lord Anton finally requests that the ambassador should let Sir Rydian de Rondel know that he is disinclined to engage in further discussion of the shield measure. They offered to trade with the Empire and were rejected, and that is just how diplomacy works. But they have no interest in putting Imperial citizens in touch with the current owner. There's also no interest in a challenge of 8 champions. That may be how things are done in the Empire or the Commonwealth, but Lord Magister Anton doesn't feel Yarm has anything it wants to prove here. So in short, the answer is no. He does however wish to correct a misapprehension. The principalities do not need details of the underpinning of Brotherhood of Tyen. Those principles are known just as much in Yarm as they are in the Empire. A completed ritual text is very valuable, especially one that represents a year and a half at least of work during which the College of Magic preparing the text can do nothing else, and, in the words of the Lord Magister, a triumph of political will to encourage an entire college to focus on codifying a useful, practical ritual, instead of some charismatic wizard's pet project involving the moon. It seems that Tresher is very bitter about something.